Hello. Hello. Test. Hello.
Like to start?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. So today we'll be talking in the roundtable about sample transport and particularly the importance of safe and secure sample transport. I will turn over my name is Claire Stanley from George Washington University.
My name is Anu Dakhres from Princess Haya Biotechnology Center, Jordan University of Science and Technology.
And then I'll hand over to Dr. Tariq to introduce himself and then give a brief introduction.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning. My name is. I am from EMPHNET. Actually, this roundtable will be discussing safe and secure shipment of biological samples. This roundtable is complementing the pre-conference workshop that we held before this conference. We had 2 days pre-conference workshop with 35 of participants from your attendees of the conference. We discussed sample management during analytical, during pre-analytical and during post-analytical stage until disposal. We tried to promote biosafety, biosecurity, biorisk management issues. We tried to discuss safety, sample handling, and all related issues to that. As you know, with the increasing number of dangerous samples collected all over the world with MERS coronavirus, with Ebola, with other emerging and re-emerging diseases, there is a big need to secure these samples, to know that they are secured, well archived, and nobody can reach these samples and use them to harm civilians. Unfortunately, because of time constraints, we will not be discussing all issues related to sample. We will have one issue only, one topic, which is sample shipment. I know that a lot of countries don't have these capacities and they are facing a lot of problems when they want to ship biological or infectious substances samples to international reference laboratories. So our roundtable will be discussing these issues and we want to hear from you if you faced such thing, you needed to ship samples, for example, to diagnose unknown disease, for example, to CDC or to the UK or to Australia. And what was your experience with that? Do you have agents and word courier in your countries? Do you have already supplies for shipment? Do you have agency in your countries that support the import and export permits for such agents? So for the start, we will be introducing this issue for you and we will open the floor for discussion. Now, Anud will be starting with some information about shipment of biological samples, then we'll be continue with me and with Claire. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. the purpose of this roundtable, as my colleague Dr. Tariq said, is to mainly talk about shipment and transportation of biological samples and to contribute in regional effort to raise awareness and increase knowledge about the safety and security of biological samples we have, and also to discuss and share issues and concerns about the security of shipping biological samples. As all we know, there is an ongoing spread of viruses, microbiology organisms, biological outbreaks of, for example, we have the Middle East respiratory syndrome spreading to South Korea and to China. Also the ongoing outbreak of Ebola virus in West Africa. These emerging epidemics and spreading of microorganisms is an important indicator for our need to have a global health security. And as we all know, when sometimes an endemic happens, there's always the need to go to that site to collect sample for diagnosis. And in this process, we need to transport your collected samples from the site to the laboratory for diagnosis purposes. And this transportation must be regulated, and these biological samples need to be handled in a way that it will not cause harm to the transporter or to others. And sometimes also the labs will not have the capacity to do that or to do that test itself. They need to ship it to other laboratories or to reference labs. And this shipment could be local, regional, or internationally. And in order to transport these substances in a safe and secure way, they must adhere to some regulations. We have a number of shipping and transportation regulations. We have international, regional, and national regulations. We have industrial and postal regulation, mean of transportation regulations, and carrier requirements, and import and export regulations when it comes to shipping or transportation of biological samples. When it comes to shipping materials internationally by air, usually this shipment will be inspected according to what we call IATA regulation. IATA stands for International Air Transportation Association. IATA consists of about 230 air members and air carriers, and about 93% of all international air traffic will inspect the shipment according to IATA regulations. And it is internationally standardized. All biological shipment in any air that is committed to IATA will be inspected according to their regulations. And it is generally restrictive, and Dr. Tariq will talk more about it, and it agrees with ICAO, which stands for International Civil Aviation Organization, for UN requirements, and it agrees also with any national regulations. And why we need these regulations? Because we need it to probably deal with any transportation accident or spillage during the transportation of biological hazards, and to maintain these biological hazards contained and safe and secure, and also to keep your sample intact for your purposes, for diagnosis purposes. I think I will leave the stand for Dr. Tariq to come and talk in more bit of details about IATA and proper packaging.
Thank you, Anoud. Good morning again. So I will talk a little bit about these regulations, how we, if we follow these regulations, how we can ship these samples safely, and they could be accepted by consignee, because if we ship that and the shipment is very expensive, if we do not follow these regulations, the consignee will throw away this shipment, and we will have this specimen not tested, and we will face a lot of issues with that. So, sorry. Now, if we want to ship samples, we need to know the company who is shipping and what they can do for us to ensure that that these people are trustful, and we can handle them this package, and we can be sure that they are the right people to handle this package. We need to know that they have control of access to their facilities, to docks and vehicles. We need to know that they can track shipment, and they know that if it leaves now to New York, and they know that the shipment reached New York, and from there to Atlanta, they need to know the right time when it reached Atlanta, for example. And we need to know that they have continuous training for their employees, because regulations sometimes are changing every now and then. So they need to follow up with some new regulations. Now we have a lot of companies, maybe you know and dealt with them. World Courier, the most famous one, FedEx, DHL, and others. I will give you an example about the World Courier and the agents that they are available maybe in your countries. For example, in Jordan, the agent who is dealing with the World Courier is called Net Logistics Company. Now, I faced an issue when we wanted to help our Iraqi friends with shipment, and when I looked on the internet, sorry, I get lost. They show us that they have an agent in Iraq. They have an office in Iraq, which is not real. This office is not existing. So don't believe anything, for example, like this information. Because if this office is in Iraq, then our Iraqi colleagues will not face a problem in shipping samples outside Iraq. So Iraqi friends should ship these samples to Jordan, and then the office can handle it, and they are facing a lot of problems just shipping samples from Baghdad to Amman. Now, to ship samples, we need to classify them, infectious substances or biological samples. We have two categories, category A, and the definition is infectious substances which is transported in a form that when exposure occurs to it, it is capable to cause permanent disability, life-threatening and fatal disease in humans and animals. Should have such sign, and one great example of such category is the Ebola virus, Marburg hantavirus, and most dangerous viral hemorrhagic viruses. Now the other one is category B, which is more easier to deal with. It's like infectious substances that does not meet the criteria of category A, and we can consider that like human clinical specimen. Now these samples, this category A, we have a list of these. Category A, but if we have a new emerging disease meeting the same criteria, should be classified as category A. Cultures may be considered as A or B depending on the microorganism. An example of that, a culture of TB, consider it as category A, but a culture of Staphylococcus aureus, we can consider it as category B. Now we have third category. It's exempt patient specimen, which follows this criteria. There is a minimal likelihood that pathogens are present in these samples, so we can label it as exempt human specimen from a human or from animal. Now we have very interesting note. If we want to determine that this sample or specimen has minimal likelihood, we need a professional judgment to know medical history. We need to know symptoms, individual circumstances, and endemic local conditions. If we are sure of this, we can consider exempt human specimen or exempt animal specimen. Otherwise, if we are not sure, we should go above to category B or maybe category A to make sure that we are transporting samples safely. I will not go through these technical details, but shipping samples is not easy. We need special container, triple packaging. I want to ask also, when we open the floor of discussion, not all countries have these triple packaging layers. They are facing problems in purchasing these kits or these supplies. So we need to discuss from where you can get these, and sometimes WHO helping in providing countries of these packages. Now we have primary, receptacle, secondary, and outer. They have specifications. We need to be sure, even when these packages fall down, that there is no breakage, no leakage of samples inside the triple layer package. Now, the name of this package is 620 for category A. They have specification, good condition, leak-proof primary, leak-proof secondary, pressure-capable primary or secondary, absorbent, and we have the specifications of size of samples that we can insert must be marked with UN specification. This package should be marked with this UN specification, the type of container, the class, the year of production, the country of production, and the code number of this package. So it should have UN specification. Now A, this is a photo of package A. All this information should be filled. This sign should be there. And we have our samples here shipped to outside the country and UN specification, as you see. Now B is less requirements, called BI 650, almost the same, but no specification, but they should have 1.2 meter drop. When we say that we should have it on a height 1 and 2 meters and drop it on the floor and be sure that it will not be broken. So this test should be done for such packages. So this is a photo of category B, and we have UN 3373 should be there, not biohazard sign as in category A. Now for exempt, the same, triple packaging, triple layer, with less requirements. In these packages, we actually ship human clinical specimens. For example, if we want to send human blood samples for CA markers, for example, to the US, we can do that and ship it. Now, the question that I have raised before, where you can get these packages, we have some answers, and we need to hear from you if you dealt with that in your countries, and if you asked for triple packaging supplies, from where you get it, and if we can raise this question and discuss it with you. Now, packages could be acquired from the world courier who is shipping your shipment, or from commercial providers. I heard that WHO, because of the outbreak of Ebola and MERS, provided countries with the triple packaging supplies, and some local companies and suppliers can provide these packages for Ministry of Health or other agents. Now, not everybody can ship samples. This lab technician or person should be trained and certified by IATA Dangerous Good Expert, 3 days course and final exam. If he passes this exam, he will be certified for 2 years. Now, I want to make your attention and to open discussion after Claire finishes her talk about the availability of shipping companies, World Courier or other agents in your country, and availability of shipping material as triple packaging, and the need of a training, and if you have faced such need in your countries, and if you have certified training people by IATA. I finished my talk, and I will leave the floor for Claire to talk about regulations, permits, MTAs that regulate shipment and the transfer and movement of biological samples between countries. Claire, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq. So again, I'll be quite quick because I think really the interesting part here for us is to hear from all of you some of the answers to these questions about your experiences and some of the challenges and maybe some of the things that you found have worked in your countries with regards to sample shipping. So I'm going to talk a little bit at the sort of more international level about why it's important to think about things like import and export permits for biological samples. So, for example, whether there's licenses available in your country, what their national regulations may be, and what some of the things you may want to think about when it comes to preparing your sample for shipment and making sure that it arrives safely in its destination. So for example, within the United States, this is an example from the US, we have import regulations for infectious biological agents and infectious substances that define those items that require an import permit and ensures that adequate biosafety, biosecurity, and other measures are taken to allow the sample to pass quickly through customs. And there's a number of reasons for these, as I mentioned, biosafety, biosecurity, but also protection of the environment in the US, ensuring that we don't import infectious substances that may be released into the environment, and also in terms of regulation of trade as well. And this regulation not only provides a guideline for how to get an import permit into the United States, but also provides an appeals process in case an application is denied. As part of this regulation as well, there's specific rules that govern what we call in the US the select agents. So those are the pathogens that in the US are determined to be of specific concern both to agriculture and veterinary side and also to human public health. Some of these are, as Dr. Tariq mentioned before, pathogens that cause special harm to humans. But some of them are also ones that have large trade implications for livestock, for example, and are either no longer endemic in the US or have been controlled successfully. So foot and mouth disease is an example. CDC itself has an import permit program, again, which regulates the importation of infectious substances. And a lot of these things are also laid out in the CDC's BMBL, which many of you may be familiar with from a laboratory context. So thinking about another reason for having import and export regulations is something called material transfer agreements. So when you're trying to send a specimen overseas, one of the reasons, for example, may be for confirmatory testing. But then who owns the sample? Is that sample still owned by the country of origin, or is that sample then owned by the lab to which it's been sent for testing? And this has implications for things like vaccine production, for research publication, intellectual property rights, further distribution of those materials, or potentially ownership of the strain if a culture is made, things like that. And a material transfer agreement can help to define the rights of both the sender and the recipient to ensure that those rights are protected by both parties. NIH, the National Institutes of Health in the US, has some MTA examples that you can find online. They can be a simple letter agreement, or they can be more complex depending on the samples and the process that's required. I also looked up on the agricultural side. For example, with plant specimens, the FAO has some sample material transfer agreements to ensure that the shipping of crop material or plant material is done equitably as well. So there's lots of examples that are available that you can look at online. So again, kind of thinking more broadly, why are we interested in these issues? What's the purpose of them? And some of it may be to regulate trade, some of it may be about intellectual property, and then there's also some international obligations that relate to treaties. So one of them is the Biological Weapons Convention. And actually one of the articles within the Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention is to prevent the transfer of materials which may assist the manufacture or any means of acquiring biological weapons. So again, coming back to that biosecurity element, part of this is a national obligation on all countries that are signatory to the Biological and Toxins Weapons Convention to ensure that they know what dangerous materials are both leaving and coming into their country, and to ensure that those materials don't fall into the wrong hands. So that's one of the really kind of international mandated reasons for this, as well as all of the safety, quality assurance, and intellectual property protection reasons that we've also discussed. And so just thinking about the US example again, and it would be very interesting to hear from some of you as to what types of regulations you have in your own countries. But in the US, the CDC and the US Department of Agriculture, the USDA, have slightly different requirements as to what requires an import permit, though they do align with each other. So as we've heard, human pathogens require an import permit. So not only would you need to have the correct packaging, the IATA shipment, all of that, but before it was sent to the US, you would need to ensure that it can be received into the US by having the appropriate import permit. And same with the USDA, if they're infectious agents of livestock or indeed any animal source material that may require an import permit into the US. And of course, the same thing can be true of export as well. You may need to get permits from your own country to export materials outside the borders. So really this comes back to the point in the questions that we've raised earlier. For all shipments, whenever you're preparing a sample or someone in your lab or within your ministry is preparing a sample for shipment, either internationally or even potentially within the same country, particularly in federal systems where there may be different regulations between provinces or governorates or states. First question is, do you think you'll need an import or an export permit? Maybe you'll need both. Is it necessary to prepare a material transfer agreement or other kind of agreement to ensure that there is an equitable sharing and the conditions of sharing of that material are well understood and agreed on by all sides? And do you have documentation indicating that the recipient is authorized to have that material? Again, this comes back to, from the US example, the select agent regulations, only certain labs are authorized to hold certain types of pathogens, and I think this is true in other countries as well. And so you want to make sure that if you are shipping one of those types of infectious agents, the lab is authorized to receive them and doesn't have a problem with receiving them on the other end. And so sometimes these questions will be guided by your national regulations. Some of your countries may already have national shipping regulations or guidelines. Some countries also have borrowed other countries' regulations to ensure that there's equal transfer between those countries. And I think just to open up for discussion, why is it important to have national guidelines or follow some of these international regulations? And what are the main motivations for doing so? Is the main concern in the lab safety? Are we worried about security, compliance with international obligations, or even just the very simple thing of quality of the sample? If you don't ship the sample appropriately and effectively, if it's sitting in customs for 3 weeks, maybe in the summertime when it's very hot, that sample may no longer be viable for the purpose for which you sent it. So there's a number of issues, and we'd be very interested in hearing from you some of the issues that you faced and some of the challenges, and perhaps ideas for how to overcome them in the region. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Claire. The floor is open for discussion, and please, if you have to raise or any similar experience in your countries with MTAs, with the shipping issues, with companies, with safety by security and all. Doctor, please, Doctor.
Important that we get agreement from all the sites where transmission, this is harmful material and it affects all the people. So every state must be guaranteed about transmitting and shifting of this material. So it must be done according to its law, to its programs, to get permission for transmitting this subject. I think so. So it is important, very important, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
No. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Mo. Okay, let him start.
I have a practical question. In Iraq, we have certified shippers. In Iraq, we have certified shippers. Do you hear me? Okay. We have certified shippers. The problem is, as you mentioned, the International Courier has no representative in Iraq. In the past, we used to send this specimen just by the highway. Now the highway is closed, and we have to ship them through airlines. So we are restricted again by IATA regulation. Is there any way that you think of, or you can help us with, how we can send this category A, I'm talking about highly infectious materials, polio material and other materials, how can they be shipped from Baghdad to Amman? Or is there any way that we can get some sort of an agreement with the International Courier and other couriers that these samples can be shipped to Iraq? It is the same regulations. So how can we overcome this? Can you help us with this?
So I think that there's a couple of points in there. One is that, there's a difference between the courier and the agents that work with the couriers. So sometimes, I don't know what the details are for Iraq, and it would be great to hear from our Iraqi colleagues what their experiences have been. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I don't know if someone from Iraq would like to comment on what they have had to do in the past or since the highways have been closed.
Somebody? I discussed that with Dr. Kahtan and sometimes with Dr. Faris. The problem that they don't have the agent in Baghdad, and when you want to transfer that through the road or even through airport to Amman, because of security issues, we may have samples stuck at customs for long time. Yes. Now we are looking for a solution. We are trying to convince such companies existing in Iraq, like FedEx and DHL, to help us in this issue. Now, I also talked with Dr. Haider, Director of Labs, Dr. Haider Maali, Abu al-Maali. Dr. Haider Abu al-Maali, Director of CPHL in Baghdad. I talked with him and we are communicating. I hoped even if he could attend this conference to discuss more and to solve this issue. And we are trying to convince FedEx to take these samples at least and to deliver it to Amman. Not yet successfully, but we are hoping to do that.
I have been discussing this with FedEx, DHL, and other couriers in Iraq for the last 3 years. We reach an agreement, and then their headquarters stop it. Every time we reach an agreement at the Baghdad office, but when they transfer it to their headquarters, it is rejected. So this needs to be discussed seriously.
No, why I'm optimistic? Because before 3 months, we got some influenza samples from NIC Iraq to Amman CBHL, and we transferred it to London. We through yeah yes
I cannot say it formally, but you know how it was transferred.
yes
Yes, it was transferred behind all rules and regulations.
I know that samples reached the lab through DHL agent. We back it. We did the invoice, custom invoice, and the samples reach London reference lab WHO safely. Now, how it happened from your side, I don't know. Yeah. Doctor.
Dr. Tariq, excuse me, about the triple package. It is for single use or multiple use, this one, and for Al-Anoon. You mentioned that the MERS virus transmitted to China and Korea. That's right. Is it transmitted due to biosecurity issues or due to normal transmission of infection like any other infection?
I think it's probably both, because people tend to move around and go. Maybe patient-to-patient travels. Maybe maybe shipment of materials to other laboratories for diagnosis may cause that.
Packaging, if as soon as it is not contaminated, you can reuse it. You can reuse the package if you receive a package, for example, from outside, and it is not contaminated, you can reuse it. You can reuse it again. Just you need to label the shipper name, the consignee name, and you can reuse the package.
How we determine it is contaminated, or how can we decontaminate?
Yes, you can decontaminate by disinfectant, but when you open your shipment, you can see if there's a breakage, if there is a leak, if spills inside it, you can see it easily. And you will have not your sample, because usually when we ship, for example, 2 ml of sera, and the small vial now it is empty, you don't have it. It's already you can see it is in the absorbent material. You can see that there is a leakage. But just in case, you can decontaminate with disinfectant the inside, the primary container, and you can reuse it. Yeah. Clear.
And there's also guidelines and many manuals about what decontamination or disinfectant is appropriate for which pathogen. And sometimes you may need to just incinerate, but there are ways that you can decontaminate for many common pathogens as well. And I don't know, maybe we can hear from some of our other colleagues as to experiences in their country about the challenges of finding shipping materials, as well as the transfer agents and couriers. And perhaps our colleague from Yemen would be willing to say a few things about another place where it's challenging as well.
Thank you. I wish some of our colleagues from the Central Public Health Laboratories here to comment, but there is nobody, so I just make a few comments. We have two certified peoples, but their certification has been expired because it's only 2 years. And now we have a problem with the renewal of his. The second problem is the career. This is a big problem in Yemen, and no career allowed to transfer anything from Yemen to outside. They are afraid from tourism and other things. What WHO and Ministry of Health agreed to overcome this, to collect the samples and send somebody carrying them on his hands every 2 weeks or 3 weeks to Nimro 3 in Egypt. This is also not the right way to do it, but this is they are enforced to do these things. The third thing and the last thing about when the WHO Ebola preparedness mission came to Yemen, there is an important component to evaluate about the lab, and we have a lot of problems, the availability of the shipping materials, guidelines, and these things. And this has been identified with infection and prevention control at hospital as the major constraint way to face such problem. So we are in a bad situation, and now the war may complicated things more and more. So it's but hopefully with time they will solve this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Dr. Tariq, I don't know, has IATA talked at all about online or distance learning for recertification? Maybe not the initial certification, but so for people who are, for renewal.
Yeah, there is not IATA, there is a WHO course for recertification of people. You just need to get a password and a username. If you can reach Dr. Asghar Humayun from EMRO office, if you can get this username and password for your certified people to be recertified, there is such, the WHO is helping. Once you finish this exam and this course, you can print out your certificate directly. So there is such, not IATA, but it is a WHO. Now, I want to hear from other countries. For example, Pakistan, if you want to ship a sample outside, or what agency you are dealing with to have a permission. For example, your Ministry of Health can give you this permission and you can do that easily. Do you have regulations? And this also not maybe for other countries. Can you elaborate on that?
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq, for this very important and issue regarding shipping. Really, we are facing constraint and challenging regarding this shipping sample. For example, at the local level, we have many constraints facing us. Me from Sudan, Darfur. For example, the capacity. First, I talk about the capacity of the human resource at the level of the district or locally, and then the capacity of the laboratory itself, and the most important issue also, timely collect of the sample to arrive to the area of either national or local level. Why I mention timely? Because, for example, we have example about vaccine preventable disease. For example, whooping cough. It needs like the sample timely arrive to the area where we can confirm. So access is a problem first, to access the area and to take sample. And then after you access, to collect is a problem. No one qualified to collect the sample. Also, that is a problem. Handling is the next point also. That's another issue. To handle from the area to the, for example, also the hemorrhagic fever, the same also. If you go through it in Sudan, you mentioned for the last maybe 5 years, we experienced many outbreaks, for example, for hemorrhagic fever, yellow fever, dengue fever. Yesterday, my colleague illustrated very clearly. And also, we have other outbreaks. So, I'm asking you how best you can support us or help us. We with WHO is there presenting, but sometimes the process is very long. Maybe it take like weeks in order to receive like carrier. Also, the regulation from Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Health is there, guideline is there, but practically to be in the field is really, it is very, very difficult. And so, my concern, I'm worried there is like merging new disease.
Yeah.
Also, really, I need to help us or to support us, to support our laboratory at local or at federal in order to go further, inshallah. For shipping agent, maybe my colleague Yusuf can add some point, and Dr. Omar also can add some issue regarding us. Yes.
Really thanks for the good presentation about shipping. I think that is important things. Dr. Munir said about they have a problem in the triple packaging. I think I agree with him. We have a national guideline in the laboratories, but that need to improvement by the support technical for the laboratory technical in states. All that we need, I think so.
Thank you for this this awareness. But in Sudan, just for information, Sudan has the 4 most deadly viral hemorrhagic viruses in the world. So now Sudan needs to ship samples all the time outside the country. Otherwise, they need to build a BSL-3 lab, which costs millions, and this is not possible now. Now, if you need to ship samples from Sudan outside the country, you need, first of all, regulations. Regulations are, and I will not talk about you, but I think the regulations are not there. As most of our countries in the region. So, for example, if you need to ship samples of Ebola virus to, not outside Africa, for example, to a reference lab in Africa, you need regulations for that. What permits you need, the regulations in the consignee country. Will they receive your sample? Although you are packaging it properly, but if you don't have the proper permits, they will not receive such samples. So we need regulations, and we need that to be officially agreed by law, by any other means, to have it for each country, and they are available at international level. But we need to have it at a level of countries. Claire?
I think just to add to that a little bit is, you know, exactly what Dr. Tariq said, that regulation is very important, from particularly at the national level. In terms of your point about the challenges of collection at the local level, and even the transport of, the timely transport of the samples from the local level to even initial diagnostic training, I think there's some good models out there. I think it's really, it depends on the country, on the context of your specific transport networks and things like that. But with a good examination of what you have available, it's possible to come up with good local solutions. And I would point you, Uganda is a country that has done a lot of work on this, including for Ebola and Marburg samples, so viral hemorrhagic fevers, where they had a really big problem of sample transport, and they were actually doing that thing where they were putting a nurse onto the bus with the sample to go all the way to Entebbe to do the testing, and they realized it wasn't viable and it was taking too long. So they actually developed a system of motorcycle couriers with cool boxes, with ice and with an inventory to help transport the samples accountably and safely, and it's worked pretty well. So that may be you know, a close-by country that can provide some suggestions for how to set up a system like that in Sudan, and potentially applicable elsewhere as well. But certainly there may be other examples from the region as well, where people have come up with good systems that work in your country. And you know, please, I think this is exactly what we would like to hear, is how to share these examples and potentially learn lessons from each other as well. So is there anyone who'd like to add to that and maybe provide some suggestions?
Nobody? Has somebody of you signed MTA before? Universities, MTA? Have you asked for agents, biological agents from outside your country? Did you sign MTA at some point of your research? No, nobody?
So, I mean, maybe, are there countries that have done reference testing for others? I know we've heard from Jordan to help with some of the samples from Iraq, for example, but
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone from Egypt can speak to having NAMRU 3 in the country and receiving samples, and I don't know if you can speak a little bit to that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have lab people here, but as I know, they are trained well on shipment. And shipment from governorates, the people are trained well how to ship specimens from their site to the CPHL and number 3 as well. For shipment outside the country, we shipped many specimens for Hong Kong laboratories and London laboratories, and it's okay, but I don't know the details exactly because I am not the one who is involved in this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think Egypt is doing very well because they are transferring H5N1 samples from governorates, and actually WHO EMRO office is there, and they have trainings for certified shippers. And we had all the time Egyptian colleagues with us, and I think they have enough certified people for IATA shipment inside Egypt or outside. I don't know Dr. Hatim, because in Palestine I also dealt with the Palestinian CPHL in Ramallah. They faced problems also at borders with Israel because of political and you know, everybody knows that their shipments stuck at customs in Tel Aviv with no reason, with nothing, just stuck there because it should reach CPHL. Then we solved this, and we tried to, through UN, to have these shipments crossing officially through UN office, helping them with reference materials, with kits, with quality control samples, and I think it was a successful story with our colleagues from Ramallah CPHL. Anything else, Claire?
Again, maybe, I don't know if colleagues from either Pakistan or Morocco or other countries.
Pakistan.
It'd be very nice to hear some other ideas. Yeah.
Pakistan is a large country, and if you need to transfer samples, how do you have any experience from transferring samples inside or outside the country? Have you dealt with that before? Yeah, you are not lab persons, but at some point I think everybody needs to know that. Even if you want to do a research as a university doctor, and you need to transfer your samples to the US or to the UK, you will face this problem. A lot of university professors reached me because in Jordan, they don't know the place to get the permit to receive some small, simple bacteria for their reference from the US. They need somebody to sign for them the permit. Such agency in Jordan is not existing, and they almost failed in their research. And we are talking about class 2 bacterial agents. The US, as per their regulations, they asked for permit. Doctor from university need to get this permit from somebody, and he could not do that. Not Ministry of Health, not Royal Medical Services, not RSS, Scientific Society in Amman, not anybody, even customs. So I just wanted to ask if there is a professor from university face such problem, and if somebody can talk. Yes, it should be there.
Well, except
But-
that IHR doesn't usually cover basic research.
Yes.
That's one of the challenges, only in the case of an outbreak of potential concern. So if it's just normal research, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Thank you for raising this subject, because it is weird for me to know that there is no authorized person in the country. It should be, I think, related to the IHR focal point in the country to know who will give the permission to send these samples and the technical issues, how to send, and the time and everything. And I just, it's good to tell you something. I was working in the Directorate of Medical Specialties in the ministry, and I am so aware about the national clinical guidelines. And laboratory, it should be one of the tools to do something nationally, not only in our Ministry of Health or in universities. There should be standardized techniques that all in each country knows about it. How to ship, to whom, and who is the person who had the permission to sign, etc. It is very important, because if you want to ship something immediately and very fast, it should be all clarified by the IHR, I think. This is how I think. It should be already done. We are talking about from 2005, and we are now in 2015. It's 10 years already, so it should be already clarified. It's not subject to have any doubts about that. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to just about IHR yesterday. We are changing now to another round table. All countries did self-assessment, which is not real. When you would give me self-assessment, I will give you yes, yes, yes all the time. On the ground, I just did not want to raise this question yesterday. If WHO come or external body will come and they will find no, 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 no everywhere. So the self-assessment, and Pierre showed us yesterday the results and how countries reached the requirements of IHR. I think this is not real on the ground. So, another thing, do you know who will pay for your shipment as a governmental facility? If you want to ship samples again to the US or to the UK, okay, you have the packages, you have a trained person, you have everything, you fill the declaration, the courier is ready to take your shipment. Who will pay for this shipment? Do you know? Can you tell me? Can somebody tell me? Iraq, for example. Even if you have the courier in Iraq, let's say that you have it, and you prepare the shipment, and you have suspected case of Ebola, and you prepare the shipment, everything is okay. The shipment cost is around $2,000 or maybe more. It's not cheap. Do you know who will pay for that? Do you have budget for that? Do you have an account with World Courier with your name and the code number that this is for Iraqi CBHL? You can take money from there, from this account, and you please deliver that shipment to CDC. Can you tell me?
The problem in Iraq is not the money. We have a lot of money. But the problem is bureaucratic issues. It is difficult. There is no any institute in Iraq have a special account. There is only one account, which is the Ministry of Health. And I think this account, it is not for external exchange of money, but everything passed through a very complex way of spending money. Killing routine.
If I may comment, actually from Iraq, WHO is paying. Every week we are sending polio specimen, another, it is WHO is paying. Because of the bureaucracy, not because of lack of, Iraq is a rich country, but because of bureaucracy, WHO has a special fund for all these things. So there is no problem with payment. The problem is transfer.
This is in case of outbreaks, yes? Only in outbreaks.
This is, Dr. Omar, this is in case of outbreak or some disease, but in case of research and other purposes, Who will pay? Who will tell? You. Mhm. يعني do they have a guideline? Do they have a carrier? Do they have
Sorry, sir. Also,
which country have a guideline?
For TB, when it transmit some sites to Egypt for the central lab there, also we depend on WHO to fund this transmission. Everything is special. If there is no fund from WHO, no one will pay. Thank you.
Thank you. If there is a special plan to communicate with the Ministry of Higher Education about training of all people in university and also doctors present in the university, if there is a special plan?
Yes. For training, yes. If you have specific requirements.
I think we in this round table we are trying to know what is the challenges each country faces so we can solve it. But if you don't come with the challenges, we don't know what challenges you are facing now.
So a question, in Jordan, for example, you mentioned CPHL and the training that is done for the Ministry of Health laboratories. Is the same training supplied to the universities, for example, at JUST, or is it each university is responsible for doing its own training?
I think in JUST we had a training in collaboration with the Sandia International Laboratories and the Global Biorisk Management curriculum, and we have now about 4 seniors had train of packaging, and actually we did help some of PhD in shipment of their samples for research. And I think universities, the main purpose is to increase and raise the awareness and the knowledge of the need of knowing that there is regulations and the need of training on these things. I think universities can search and can enroll in these trainings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Farah from CIDF Global Amman office, and just to comment on Alanud, we work in CBRN and non-proliferation, and what we've noticed in our area of the world, especially Iraq, Yemen, and Jordan, is it has to be the university's own initiative. Graduates don't have the culture of biosafety, biosecurity, and chemical security, and so on. So I think, to go back to the roots, curriculums should be revised, and safety should become a part of their responsibility. Graduates don't understand that this is part of their job right now.
Thank you. I totally agree that biosafety culture and biosecurity culture is not existing. We tried to put that and to talk with Minister of Higher Education to put that as a curriculum on, at university students. It is not yet successful, but I think what JUST is doing now, the training coursing that they are providing, not only at national level, but they are inviting people from outside Jordan. I heard about courses in for Afghanis, for Algeria, Iraqi, Yemeni people. Is a good step to change the mentality of people and how they think about biosafety, biosecurity. So this is also an issue and how to change people thinking about biological samples, biosafety and biosecurity. Thank you. Any other challenges? Morocco, yes. أتكلم عربي. I will translate, yeah.
بالنسبة للمغرب فيه two institutes ايجين ناشونال انستيتيوت باستر انستيتيوت توصيل سبيسيمان مش مشكل. اوكي اوكي من يعني من المركز الصحي الى هذا الانستيتيوت يخضع الشروط، يعني يخضع الشروط ويكون فيه بيوسافتي بيوسيكوريتي، وفيه المسؤول على الوبائيات في كل محافظه يعني ده ترينين ترينين اوكي ترينين في كيفيه جمع التحاليل كلها ونقلها عبر شركه خاصه، يعني مثل داشيل في المغرب كاين شركه اسمها امانه. وخارج المغرب لما تكون يعني تحاليل غير موجوده في المغرب يمكن تمشي لباستر انستيتيوت في باريس بنفس الطريقه، يعني وفيه كل شروط السلامه وحفظ التحاليل وتوصيلهم في دي كونديشن
ترانسبورت
يعني ملائمه علشان المختبر يمكن يدرس التحليله وفي تحاليل كثيره بتعمل في المغرب، يعني ميزلس في الناشونال انستيتيوت انفلونزا بتتعمل في المغرب، يعني في بوليو يعني بيف يعني في تحاليل كثير بتتعمل في
والايبولا اولسو
الايبولا شكرا.
Yes, I'm proud to hear that from our Moroccan colleague. He said that they have national regulations for transporting of sample at country level and internationally. They have all this as by law صح بالقانون؟ عندكم قانون بينظم العملية هذه؟
C'est une règlement ou
تشريعات أو أنظمة.
There is no law in Morocco for transportation of the sample. There is each institute make the regulation for each institute, and we have that's my colleagues. They are the private sector that you have Amana and DHL in international and Amana in national for transporting of samples. But for biosafety and biosecurity, we have program with the Robert Koch Institute that now we make the training for in national and regional level for the laboratories, and we have make now for to improve the code of conduct of biosecurity that we manage. We have in this year, and we have also on biosecurity. We have National Institute of Health that have the experience with the Sandia Lab and managed to fair training for the. We have problem not for in national level but in regional level. There is problem for sample, not the high sample such as MERS-CoV or Ebola or high, but we have the sample in NEPO 2. And thank you.
Okay. Thank you. At least, يعني, even at level of institutes, we have regulations in Morocco. A transfer of sample through private company in Morocco is going well. And internationally also there are some regulations. And even in Morocco, they don't need to send their Ebola samples outside Morocco. They handled and faced the outbreak very well. They have BSL-3 lab, and they had all suspected cases tested in Morocco. And this is good. This is good solution, but an expensive one. Okay, Dr. Adel, do you have something to add?
No. Can we ask His Excellency Minister of Somalia if you are facing any problem with the shipment of the samples?
Thank you very much. I didn't think I was saying something today. I thought I was just observing. Hi everyone, I'm Hawa Hassan Mohammed. I'm Minister of Health, Federal Government of Somalia. We all have problems, I guess, nowadays. But my question was, it wasn't a question, but a comment. I think it should be global responsibility to take care of this. For example, Ebola. Anything that happened in Somalia might come to Jordan or somewhere else. So I guess I'm missing, if anything globally are we doing to deal with this? It's a question. From Somali perspective, UN are doing this job. They transporting and coming back with a result. We haven't got a policy or procedures of way of dealing with at the moment. As you all know, Somalia just came out of the civil war. We are slowly developing policy procedures. The country is being established now. We have a little bit insecurity going on still around, but in terms of having system built and up and running, still we know at that stage. But I think globally we are all responsible to do something about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Would you like to say that globally?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Your Excellency. Those are very important comments, I think. And I just want to add, I think it's a good point. I think there is a need for much more of a global outlook on these things, given that the world is so interconnected now, and given that what affects one country is bound to affect another one as well. I think that there's definitely a role to play by the people in this room, people who have positions within their ministries, within their governments, to raise these issues and to raise that awareness. Dr. Tariq and I were talking yesterday about how in the middle of the Ebola outbreak, certain carriers actually stopped carrying important samples. They refused out of fear. So I think it was DHL, right? Refused at one point to carry Ebola samples anymore. And DHL is a multinational company. You know, they work all over the world. Their customers are all over the world. If governments came together and had an agreement to say, we need to put pressure on these couriers to understand that there actually is very low risk if samples are transported safely and securely, and to demonstrate the critical public health importance of transporting these samples, there may be a lot more flexibility in ensuring that situations like what's happening in Iraq now with the lack of agents and couriers doesn't happen in the future. So I think that that's an excellent point and something that, you know, people in this room should really be thinking about, and something that maybe we can all think about together in terms of how best to put those arguments forward and create better global policies and regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. We are proud to have here Dr. Ahmed Darwish with experience in several countries, and if we will be proud if he can tell us if he faced or solved such issues in different countries he worked in. Dr. Ahmed? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Actually, as discussed in Egypt, I was working as the API manager in Egypt before, and we used not to face any problems in transportation or shipment of any specimens either to number 3 or to outside the country. In Pakistan, actually the system of shipment of the stool samples for polio inside the country is to the central laboratory in the NIH is being done by the courier service, and it is going very fine. And also sending the samples to the regional lab in Cairo also, there was no problem. In Jordan, actually I was supporting the polio program in the northern Syria area, working from Gaziantep, and there was a big problem in shipment of the samples from North Syria, either to Gaziantep or to the laboratory in Amman. And I mean, there were several checkpoints. I don't know if you are aware of what is happening in North Syria. There are so many militant groups, and after reaching the borders, usually the borders are closed, and sometimes they have to ship the samples through tunnels, and I mean, if you see the person carrying the sample and coming full of mud and has to walk a long distances, but what was impressive is that he is full of mud and not clean, but the stool carrier is very clean and they keep it very well. Shipping the sample to Jordan was a problem also, and we have a coordinator because, you know, the borders were closed. There was a coordinator to facilitate this, and I think we managed to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. I think regulations and again regulations, need of training, need of retraining and refreshment, and a need of awareness and the change of culture on biosafety and biosecurity. We are in Jordan and is as EMPHNET, in EMPHNET. We are happy because we have just have a training center that can help us in that. That's all. If you need a help in Jordan as a training facility adjust, they can help. Dr. Adel. تفضل.
Okay. Dr. Haider Latoum, I think you have a lot of experience in sample transportation. Can you tell us your, and Dr. Bassam?
والله I give talk for Dr. Bassam.
Hi, Dr. Al. We are in the Ministry of Health, in the Directorate of Communicable Disease, usually collaborate, a close collaboration with the lab, the central lab. We have a public health lab, and usually a public health lab has a procedure for all shipments. There is a standard, and Tariq, he knows that he is our focal point for that.
Was.
And still, we are Ministry of Health. Still, well, you are working with us.
Yes. So, Dr. Haider, تفضل.
Good morning. Regarding we have experienced when the shipment of the stool samples of polio and the blood samples regarding the EPI target diseases. In fact, always we are working as a team, epidemiologists and the lab technicians, from the time of collecting until reaching to the lab. They should know the procedures from A to Z, how they are going to deal with the shipment samples or any samples they need to investigate. In fact, the team should be trained how to deal with the collecting and the storing and shipment also, and they should fulfill the forms as the forms. The main problems always founded with the main problem is to fill the forms of stool of the samples shipment, and also the leakage of on the containers, because many times we see that the ice packs is leakaging, and the samples and the forms no more you can read it due to the leakage of the ice ice packs on the box of shipment. Anyhow, the main the main objectives or the main things should be emphasized on a training how to deal with the collection, transport, storing, and transportation to the samples. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Haider. Again, coming to the training, we as EMPHNET and in collaboration with Just University, Prince George Center has full curriculum on biosafety, biosecurity, and shipment of biological samples, and even they can certify people on shipment per IATA regulations. Anoud, would you like to answer?
Recently in last February, we opened our training center that is for biorisk management, and we have curriculums for training people on laboratory biosafety, laboratory biosecurity, and field biosecurity and biosafety. And on shipping, we can do trainings for many, and will be very happy to help anybody regarding to these trainings. Thank you.
And I think your courses are online, right? You can look on the website for and I think there's some information outside even as well. So certainly encourage you to talk to Anoud or to look at the material about those training courses. And I think that just to follow on Dr. Haider's point, I think that the risks with bad transport and bad packaging are quite high and shouldn't be overstated. I was just remembering a story I heard from some colleagues in the UK who were working in a lab in Sierra Leone as part of the Ebola response. And they said because people were very afraid of the Ebola samples, obviously, they were packaging them in many packages.
Many layers.
Many layers. But the problem was none of them were absorbent. They didn't have the protection from the outside. Often they would put the form inside, so the form was contaminated with the sample, and it made the diagnostic process very difficult. So even aside from the risk to the laboratorians, it actually slowed down the process by which samples could be tested, and therefore for people to be put into the treatment centers or cleared of infection. So I think that it's not only the question of safety and security, it's also the question of good clinical practice, good diagnostics, and good research. So there's many issues that surround it, and it's very important to have the whole process.
I would to thank EMPHNET for inviting people, unknown warriors who are sitting in the most difficult parts of the world. And especially my friend here, Dr. The Director of Health from Darfur. Darfur is a surface area is 500,000 square kilometers, almost twice the surface area of Iraq. And their problem, and their special problem, is the collection, preservation, storage of specimen at the local level. They want help on how to collect specimen from such a vast area, dealing with very precious, sometimes highly infectious, sometimes unknown infectious states of the specimen. And I think EMPHNET has a special role to play in this, because WHO, UNICEF, they train people at the central level. They don't have the manpower or the mandate to go up to the local level. So I think if EMPHNET can listen, if you listen carefully to what he said, his need is at the local level. He needs his staff at the local level to be well trained how to collect, store, transport, and store specimen at the central level, till the central level people will come, test or transport outside the country. So I think this is very special program, it is a vast area. It is, many parts of it are insecure. And I think we should listen to them and we should help them. Thank you very much.
I think that's an excellent point. And I think, again, just to emphasize that there may be different solutions that are required at that level than maybe WHO or others would have at a central level. So, for example, keeping a specimen cold, if there isn't a fridge, right? So how do we think about maybe using solar-powered chargers for small portable freezers? You know, I think there's a real opportunity to put our minds together to think about some of the innovative solutions that we may be able to produce for that kind of setting. So thank you very much for that point.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Dr. Omar. EMPHNET actually, in the following few months, will reach West Africa, the 3 affected countries of Ebola, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea, with a project with BEP to deal and to train people, to assist people in samples collection, preservation, and sample security. As we reach these countries, I think we can reach Darfur and other areas. Just approach us, and we are ready to help about it. The logistics and experience is there, and we are happy to help.
So I know we don't...
Yeah. Who is asking and in need.
So I don't know if, I know that we don't have many lab people from Pakistan, but perhaps, I don't know if any of you have experienced taking clinical samples from remote parts of Pakistan where maybe there's some instability as well, because certainly that might be some lessons that could help in terms of,
Thank you. I am from National Institute of Health, Islamabad. So we are dealing with the epidemic samples in Pakistan. And we receive samples from all over the country. Influenza samples, Congo samples, and cholera, typhoid, such samples. We have trained our lab personals in every province and every unit. And also we have sentinel labs in every province. We have 6 sentinel labs. So mostly samples before, when DEWs were there, the DEWs people send all the samples to NIH. Nowadays, as the DEW has been withdrawn, and the sample are mostly dealt by our FLTP trained persons and other lab trained persons from all over the Pakistan. And they follow lab safety, and they follow maximum protection and biosafety. So we receive cholera sample, typhoid samples, Congo samples from different areas of Pakistan, as well from Afghanistan as well, for lab processing in NIH. And NIH is the only biosafety level 3 lab in Pakistan.
Okay, thank you. And so, for example, in Pakistan then, you would receive, it would be the provincial capitals would send you the samples then. And so how are they being collected at the provincial level? Maybe someone else can comment as well. But, you know, who are the people who are out there collecting samples at the local public health centers or the local clinics? Say Baluchistan, I don't know.
We are receiving samples from every district. The district surveillance officer or the executive district health officer is responsible to send samples directly to NIH. They are not involving provincial units because to involve minimum persons in the sample collection and transportation. That's the rule.
Okay, so just thinking about ways that we can apply similar types of models, maybe if that kind of network would work maybe in a situation like Darfur, I don't know, but there may be opportunities for discussing further.
Yeah, thank you. I think we have covered all questions. We heard from you about challenges and weaknesses that we have about biological samples, security and shipment. We will take that into account in our further trainings and discussions and the future conferences. I would love to thank Claire for her contribution, Anoud for her support, Dr. Adel, thank you, Dr. Amar, thank you, Dr. Ahmed for your contribution, and all of you. We have a break now, thank you. waiting for you at 11 for the second sessions of our conference. Thank you. Have a nice day.